I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. This is Mr. Jumper. I'm going to go through and give you an overview of the performance task and the way that it is set up for your students. So on Friday, they all received their performance task. They had an option to choose between three different tasks, and it just so happens that all the students chose these two tasks. So the first task that we're looking at here is for the real world group. So we have a group that's labeled real world. There's another one that is labeled hands-on, depending on what they chose. So we're going to look first at the group that is signed up for the real world performance task. So for our slide number 2 pretty much is a unit overview. It has down all of the things that it says in order to meet this standard, you will. Now, it isn't for the performance task, but the whole entire unit that we are studying. So the unit is all of these objectives, but the performance task, you'll notice in a few slides, is going to be centered around one objective. Okay, so the actual objective for this performance task is on slide 3. It talks about how mass is a characteristic that impacts weight, and it goes on to talk about reducing the weight of the aircraft, increases the fuel efficiency, and how 3D printing is changing the way that we live. It talks about going through and making a presentation for Boeing about how 3D printing works and giving them suggestions for testing 3D printed alternatives to the way in which their aircrafts are typically built. So this is on slide 3, and it talks about this. Now, a lot of your students that signed up for this will probably want to use the 3D printer. We have a few of them at school, and on Tuesday, I'm going to meet with the students and show them how the 3D printer works and things like that. And they do not need to do any 3D printing for their task, but I'm sure 90% of them will want to for the task. So when you go on and look, the actual objective for the task on the rubric is listed on the next slide. So on slide 4, it goes through and it says what the student needs to do for advanced proficient. And here you can see it's just this objective. Explain the relationship between motion, force, and mass. And it tells you what they need for advanced proficient, proficient, developing proficiency, and novice. And then it has one of the 5 C's focus area for each performance task. This one is about creativity. Next slide is the Wonder Wall. And when I talked to the students on Friday, I told them this is the area where they type down things that they are wondering throughout the unit. We will also have another one of these hanging in the classroom, more of a class one where they could combine all of their different wonders. But from what I told them, they should have typically about 3 to 5 different things that they're wondering throughout the unit. Last Friday, we also talked about goal setting, and we talked about the SMART goal format. On the next slide was the goal setting, and we all created the same goal together for the first one. And so in the first part, in here in the middle, what I need to work on, we all filled it in about using our time wisely and time management. I don't remember the exact wording, but it was something to do with that. So these are some other things that the student will fill out as we are working on the unit. So we'll go on here to talk more about what their plan is this week and how they'll know that their plan is working and things like that towards their goal. This next slide doesn't really have anything to do with the performance task. It's just on there, more of a decoration, but it tells them what the 3 hyperdocs are that we're going to be doing in class for the different learning opportunities. The first one is position, direction, and speed. That is one that we will be doing on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of this week. Slide 9 on here goes through and has a planning guide and tells the students exactly what to do for the performance task. It has down different resources the students could use. And this it's a Subaru. When they click on it, it has different links to click on. It kind of just houses some links about how mass impacts aircraft's ability to fly. Here it talks about learning how 3D printing works. I have an article here from Wonderopolis they could read. Find a video about 3D printing or test 3D printer in action. Well, I already supplied them with a video about 3D printing that I found online, or it also talks about testing a 3D printer in action. Well, they're going to see one in action as well. So this should already be nothing too crazy for them. Then it talks about researching the way other companies have used 3D printing to reduce costs, and then create a presentation for Boeing to explain how they could reduce their costs using 3D printing. It doesn't say what they need to do for a presentation. That is up to them. If they choose something like Google Slides, if they choose to make a poster, it is all up to them however they want to do it. So then there are 3 questions having to do with the unit. How does scientific inquiry drive the work of physicists? They will learn more about this on Tuesday morning. Let's see. This is how are force, motion, and energy interrelated? What patterns exist between forces and objects? And then the last slide is for their reflection at the end of their performance task. So they could put a link, a video, or a picture of their performance task here. Now, they could do all of that at school. They have a camera right on their Chromebook. How does 3D printing promote innovation in aviation? What strategies do you use to persuade Boeing? How did completing this performance task help you learn about how motion, mass, and force are related? So that is the performance task for real world. Now, for hands-on, if you look on the side, a lot of these slides are exactly the same, but their task here at number 3 is a little bit different. It talks about creating 3 or more hands-on models of aircrafts to demonstrate how shape and surface material increase or decrease friction, which increases or decreases drag. Here I have an article for them about how planes fly and about this drag and things like that. So the students are going to create 3 different models. They're going to test these models. And this past week, we created a chart. So they should all know how to create a chart online in order to report their data. If they want to make a video about this, that's up to them. Whatever materials they want to use. At school, I have things like cardstock and paper, but I know in the past, some students have found some things at home like styrofoam and stuff like that and tested some planes. So that is what this performance task is about. Here you could see further down on the planning guide, these other slides are the same, but on the planning guide, on number 9, it talks about brainstorming shapes of aircrafts, brainstorm the surface materials, research shapes and surface materials of aircrafts and the amount of drag they produce, draw the diagrams of the aircrafts, labeling the shape and surface material, choose the best solutions, build 3 or more models, test, plan a demonstration to explain the shape and surface materials impact on friction, which impacts the drag. So they could do that using videos, they could do that using a poster or whatever they want in order to make their demonstration. If the students let me rephrase that too. When the students make their 3 different planes, I recommend they hold on to them until Friday, October 4th. We're going to share all of our tasks together. And then the rest of these slides are exactly the same as the other one that I already went over. If you have any questions, please email me and let me know, and I'll clarify anything for you. Have a great day.